Woo!
Hi guys, Dr. Saida is on. I just actually added the new video. Can you guys just switch over to the new video and share? Dr. Saida, I want to ensure that I have the pronunciation of your name correct. Is it Saida?
Saida Desile.
Saida Desile. So I had the first name correct, but I didn't have the last name, Desile. I actually pronounced the T.
Ah, yeah. It's a French name, so they often have silent words or silent vowels and consonants.
Okay, so it's Desile.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Okay. So guys, I have Dr. Okay, they're joining. I have Dr. Saida Desile live with me. Remember to share the video. Thank you guys for switching over. I didn't want you to wait until 6:30, so I went live on Facebook. And now we have Dr. Saida Desile with us. And I want to thank you all for joining and for being a part of Talk Time with Sharmin. This is our first show for the year. And I want to thank you. I also want to thank Dr. Saida for being on the show with us. And I am going to introduce her, but I'm going to read. I'm sorry. I'm going to read her bio. Dr. Saida Desile wants to live in a world filled with audacious, sexual sovereign women, living life on their own terms. As a thought leader and body philosopher, she has published several books, The Experience of the Sensual Woman and The Illustrious Jade Egg, and had her innovative method featured in Dr. Christine Northrup's best-selling books, Women's Wisdom, Women's Body, and the Secret Pleasures of Menopause, as well as in Dr. Rachel Abrams' books, Multi-Orgasmic Women and Body Wise. After 2 decades of dedicated embodied professional practice, Saida is renowned for being the founder of the modern Jade Egg movement and visionary spokesperson for sexual sovereignty. Whew. She is soon to publish her newest book on desire, while contributing to the first ever medical study on the jade egg and its impact on the vaginal microbiome. Saida has created 7 online courses to assist women to successfully embody their sensuality while enhancing their sexual health. She recently co-presented at AASECT annual conference with Dr. Deborah Wickman on sexuality and ageism. Interesting. Sharing their latest research findings on post-menopausal sexuality. Recognizing the effectiveness of her method and desiring to create a professional industry standard, Saida launched her year-long ambassador program for professional women who wish to bring her psychosocial method into their line of work. These ambassadors are part of Creative Collaborative Global Collective, who are dedicated to the highest standard of information and education for women of all walks of life. Seeing the need to counter the detrimental effects of apathy, she created the Daring Project, a growing online membership of women from around the world. For women who are curious about exploring what it means to claim themselves and be the force of nature they are born to be. This dynamic platform is assisting women to audaciously move from being a victim to confidently thriving in life. When she's not dancing Cuban salsa or zouk with her husband, you could find Saida leading wilderness safaris for women in South Africa or writing deliciously sensual poetry. Wow. 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 Dr. Saida, I wanted to read the long version of your introduction, and I hope you can forgive me for doing that. Because,
absolutely.
For you to embody all your gifts and do all that you do, how do you find the time to do all that you do and still be a wife and take care of yourself?
That is such a great question. And a lot of my work, what's really important to me is that I like to walk my talk. So if I'm going to tell really busy women who've got a lot on their plate, hey, your body matters, your sensuality matters, then I need to also be living that truth. So it's just a matter of being like, what's my priority really? And I want to live this life as fully as I can. And so my priority is my vitality. It's to feel good. It's to feel connected. And when I am, believe it or not, I actually have way more energy for the people in my life and the projects that I'm involved in.
Wow. Dr. Saida, where did your own personal journey of reclamation started?
I would have to say it started a few decades ago when I emerged from a surgery and the surgeon looked at me and said, you have 2 weeks to live, so you need to sort out your things and contact your family. And that was because I just had a very violent rape experience, and it nearly cost me my life. So that moment when my mortality was put in my face, because when you're in your 20s, you don't really think about dying. So it was a very scary moment, but at the same time, it was like I just knew that I had to make a choice. And the choice to live, it might sound simple, but it was really huge because I'd never made that choice before. And then I had to actually find out, well, what is it going to take to live when I'm actually supposed to die in 2 weeks? So it took me on a journey, in a very deep journey, and especially I did a deep dive into self-care, sexuality, sensuality, and healing from something that for a lot of people we just tolerate, but we don't really assimilate and recover from.
Where did the fortitude, the resilience to bounce back from a very violent rape to that, where did that come from? It's a two-part question. Where did that come from? And how did it catapult you into living your purpose?
Can I just say how adorable and amazing you are? Like, I just want to be on your couch with you and like snuggle up to you and have a good laugh. So where that energy comes from, I believe I inherited that from my parents. They are French Canadians. They're very spirited people. They did a big daring thing. They went from French Canada, not speaking a word of English. They moved to the middle of Canada onto native reservations. So not only did they have to learn English, they had to learn a whole new culture because the First Nations people live very differently. And in that time, we moved around a lot and I was exposed to many things. And so I think the deep love that I received from my parents, as well as I was just in life, I was seeing it all from beauty to the most horrid things. My parents didn't shelter me from anything. And I think that created a very vivacious spirit that was very in love with life and could understand that it wasn't always beautiful, but that there was a context for our challenges.
Wow. And how, after, what was the process for your recovery? Because I deal with a lot of sexual survivors. We may have a lot of sexual survivors on the live, and some of them have not recovered. They're still in the victim stage. What can you say to them that helped you to begin to walk in your purpose and your destiny, even though you had that experience?
Yeah, this is an amazing question. I think for me, because I was I had to face my death. So there was a very strong choice. Either you change or you die. So there wasn't a lot of leeway when I had to make that choice. Then the second thing that became important to me was nobody, not even my surgeon, has the right to tell me how it is. They told me I was going to die, but actually I had the right to choose what was going to happen. And I did. And so I actually got a day pass out of the hospital and I went to see an herbalist. And I was very intentional about it. And I said to her, look, you're going to see that I'm not well. And she goes, yes, you're definitely at the crossroads. And I said, yes, but I am choosing to live. She goes, okay, if you make that choice, there's a lot that you need to do. And I said, that's fine. I'm willing to do all of it. And unbeknownst to me, that wasn't just taking herbs. That was facing my own heart. That was facing my own body. That was spending time alone, expressing in a very intense way all the deep and intense emotions that had been held in my body and just letting them out. It looked like getting curious. What else is there in life, especially around sexuality? And that's how I discovered the jade egg practice, for example, and went on a deep journey with some ancient Chinese ideas and teachings, and eventually learned to really listen to my own body and to trust her. And so when I work with women, the very first thing that I always invite them into is, are you willing to come back home to yourself? Just that question. And let's start really slowly. Let's start with a breath. And take that breath like you really mean to take it. And then from there, we can start making new choices. So for some ladies, it's going to be just a hand on their heart, hand on their belly, and taking that breath for a while until they feel like, oh, actually, I'm here. I'm not out of body. So that could be slow. And so one of the things I say in the beginning, especially when there's a lot of trauma, is only move as fast as the slowest part of you. It is so crucial. But I actually think that that's wisdom for all of us, always. Because I don't know about you, but I don't like the feeling of like racing forward and then tripping myself and like taking back steps. I would prefer to go a little slower, but that step that I take, it's integrated, it's powerful, and I never take a step backward. To do that, we really need to understand what is my slowest part and what does she need to feel like she's part of my life. And then the last piece I would say is what happened was not okay. But what happened isn't who you are. It's something that happened. And there is a point of power in it. I think this was the biggest transformation for me, was the willingness to be in my pain and to be in that intensity and to be in the journey, and be willing to go, this has got to serve something. This has got to serve something. I don't know what it will be, but I'm willing to learn. And as I did, it unfolded itself. And now I'm a voice for sexual sovereignty all over the world. And it's an incredible journey that I've been on. And I think it had to do with the willingness to not identify myself with what happened, that I was bigger than that. It was an experience of life, but who I was in my essence was bigger than that.
It's amazing that that's the choice that you made. And as I'm listening to you, I'm like, but that was the only choice that you had, because death was not an option.
No.
Right? So that was the only choice you had. And how long did that process take? That healing process to be healed, and so that you can move on.
Yeah, I really feel like healing comes in stages. So the first stage, especially right after trauma, is just to stabilize a person and make sure that they're okay. That was the stage where I went to the hospital and had to go through a surgery and got stabilized and, okay, I'm physically safe now, I'm okay. There is that stage. The next stage is then to start coming back and reintegrating. And women do this in many different ways. The thing that's very important for me is that we include our body, because a lot of us will seek talk therapy, which is really good. We need to talk about it. But talk therapy won't change the cellular memory. To do that, we have to actually have contact with our body. And so I started very slowly with just touching my body, like just my arm, and saying, I'm here. I've got you. We're okay. And I just had to keep doing that. And eventually when I went into, then that would be a few months, and then I started to explore what more is there to life than dramatic and awful sexuality. There's got to be something called conscious sexuality somewhere. And as I pursued that, then I became celibate. I chose not to have partners, and I decided to dedicate myself to discover, who am I deeply as a sexual being? And in that process, that would have taken a couple of years of unwinding and getting familiar with and understanding all the layers, because what I discovered, that the rape was intense, but I had a few decades already of social conditioning that I also needed to unwind. Ideas about myself as a woman, ideas about myself as a sexual being. So all of those things started to unwind. And then I would say maybe even 10 years later, I met an individual that resembled the man who had raped me. And I was actually, he was like my boyfriend at the time. And it didn't click that he resembled him until a certain sexual experience that we had together, and I relived the trauma. Mm-hmm. But I relived it consciously because I'd spent enough time with myself and loving myself and feeling my own courage and knowing all my emotions. I said to him, you've got to trust me, but I need to go through this. And I went through a very intense moment with him where I screamed and I cried and I was raging. But it was a reclamation of any lost power that was still held in that memory. And when I emerged from that, I felt free, completely free. So I can't tell you that that will be true for everybody, but I can tell you that each woman is erotically intelligent, and she has everything inside herself that she needs to heal herself completely if she is willing to have that direct relationship with herself, and then to trust where that leads her. Sometimes it may lead her to a therapist. It could lead her to a group of really interesting women who are working on certain things. It could lead her to a book, could lead her to meditation. I don't know what her wisdom will lead her into, but I do know that I trust the journey implicitly, and that it's accelerated when we are willing to feel all of the feelings and all the sensations and really claim ourselves and be there for ourselves in a really profound way.
How can a woman attain her sexual sovereignty?
Yeah. Well, let's describe what that is first, because it's kind of a weird term, right? Sexual sovereignty is not a common word in the collective at this time. So sovereignty is the autonomy, the authority over yourself. So it's having the authority and autonomy over your own body and sexuality. That means that no person, no organization, no government, no one has the right to tell you what to do about your fertility, how to have pleasure, with whom, when, how. That is solely the domain of the sovereign person. And this is very important because when I had a look at the current, Charter of Human Rights that the United Nations put together and some other things that I looked at, there's nowhere in the world yet, unless if you know, please educate me, but I haven't found it yet, where there's a statement that it's accepted societally as a fact that you have the right to your own body. So when I discovered that, I went, my God, we need to claim this. It is so important. Imagine what happens when collectively, even subconsciously, we don't believe we have the right to our own body. Then so many other things could happen. We wouldn't have clear boundaries. All these other people's thoughts and feelings about how we should live our lives would be important. So it is a very important question. So the first place to start is this something you want? Do you want to really live your life on your own terms? And if you do, then there's no space anymore to play victim. So we have to almost take like a little sidestep and go, okay, here's where I blame and judge and label. And here's where I take full responsibility, full authority, be fully autonomous in my physicality, in my sexuality, in my being. And from there, I get creative. From there, I lean in. From there, I am guided.
Before, while I was preparing for your show, I think it's called Kung, but it's spelled Kreung, the Kung Society.
Yes.
In Cambodia. And they believe that healthy, loving marriages require women who are strong, self-assured, and have self-confidence about their sexuality. Parents help their teen daughters achieve this state by giving her a room of her own, and she can invite a boy she likes to spend the night in her room. And there she makes all the rules and reigns supreme. Well, and when she says no, he obeys instantly without argument or bad feelings. And if he doesn't, he has to face severe penalties from the entire community. I love that society, and what they said, the divorce is rare and sexual violence is virtually unknown. That's in Cambodia. And then in New Guinea, women and men are equal. And women can marry as much as they want to. I think I'm going to move there.
Yeah. I love it. So yes, I mean, it's interesting when we start looking at culture, right? And how much culture influences us. And what I want to suggest is that we are the makers of culture, the individual.
Yes.
The individual is the maker of culture. And right now, have a look. The Me Too movement is a huge movement that has arisen from a need to just have the freedom to speak and say it like it is without being shut down or manipulated. So there's a need. We are changing culture when we rise, when we say, hey, actually, this is my standard. This is my boundary. This is what I'd love. And so every woman right now that's watching this with us, you are the change maker. You are the influencer. And when we get that we matter, that our voice matters, that our choices have impact, We live in a very different way. And I think the Cambodia story is so clear in describing that, right? Because here's a young woman supported by her community, but she still needs to go through the experience of standing up for herself, of saying what she likes, of having boundaries. And she's in a container that allows that to come forward. But I'm pretty certain that her upbringing prepared her for that moment. She's not just thrown into there. And the young man is also prepared for that moment by observing how the men in his world function and how they treat the women in their world. So if we want the change in the greater community, let's say, then we definitely need to understand that we don't have to wait for government or institution or anyone to give us permission. We actually get to right now claim our bodies and go, hey, this is how I want to live my life. This is how I'd love to experience my interactions with men and women and my sexuality. And that's empowering.
It truly is empowering. I just want to go back to the idea of sexual sovereignty because I like it. And want to know how did that idea, something that is so unique and defies societal norms, how did you develop that idea?
Amazing question. So after the healing of my own sexual trauma, women in my community came to me and said, whatever you're doing, I want it. And so very quickly, I started to share that which I had embodied already. And I started to understand, because women were different than me, we're all a little different, I had to change a little bit the practices I'd been doing and the understanding that I'd had so it could serve her. So in this incredible service, and I traveled the world, I was in at least 15 different countries, sometimes up to 20 weekends a year, traveling and sharing this knowledge openly with women of all ages. And what I started to understand, which was really amazing, my gosh, something's happening here that's more than just a woman claiming her orgasm. That's more than just a woman having better sexual health. That's more than just a woman healing this relationship issue or this thing. There's a reclamation happening. This woman, these women, they're coming home here and really embodying and immersing themselves in the beauty of who they really were in a very subtle yet very powerful way. And that's when the words sexual sovereignty emerged for me. I went, these women, this is what we're doing. We are becoming autonomous and the authority over our bodies, over our sexuality and sensuality. And no one has the right to tell us anything about that. We have the right to explore, to express, and to choose. And so that's how that emerged, was purely through the thousands and thousands and thousands of amazing and courageous, beautiful women who came forward with such tenderness and such vulnerability. And every one of us has a story, and every one of us has had some degree of pain or trauma or challenge to face. Even if we've had a perfect life, we still live in a society that doesn't really love and adore a completely liberated woman. So we have these challenges. And yet, in spite of all of that, we can be courageous, we can be empowered, we can be creative, we can be healthy, we can be vital, we can infuse our families, we can infuse our workspace with this vitality, with this inspiration. And so that's what I saw emerge, and it touched me beyond the beyond. And I thought, I need to let all women of the planet know that this exists. I do not have the right to hide this knowledge. It has to get out. Women need to know. And so here we are today talking about this, and it really touches my heart that it matters to you.
I haven't, I talk a lot about recovering from sexual trauma, but I have never even scratched the surface of having sexual sovereignty. And reading, when I read your bio and I went to all your pages and I saw all that you did, just to get a grasp and understanding and really embrace my sexual sovereignty, but my socialization and the values that were imposed on me. It's like, I don't want to say a hindrance, but it's like preventing me from really embracing my sexual sovereignty.
Yes. I'm so happy you brought this up because it's really, really a crucial point. And so here's the thing. You and I and all of us, men, women, children, it's our birthright. We're born this way. So we don't need to actually do anything to be sovereign. But because, like you said, there's social conditioning that kind of puts us off the side almost. We're off balance. We don't know our own worth. We don't know our own power. We don't know our own, that we even matter. And so what I've done because of that is I've become really an advocate for being daring. And to dare, just the word is kind of like exciting. It's an evolutionary word. I think human beings have had to dare throughout our evolution in order to survive. But to really go, like you said, how do we go from just surviving something to really thriving, to really being expressed in the gift aspect of our nature? That takes a conscious choice. And so with daring, I created this project called the Daring Project. And I invite women to explore in what I call micro moments. It's like the small moments of life, not the big, huge, extraordinary ones, but the simple little moments where we get to choose breath after breath. Are we really at home in ourselves, making a choice from what's true in our own hearts? Or are we allowing this choice that we're about to make to be dictated by the values of others? And that's what we face in micro moments. And it takes daring, it takes so much courage to be willing to go, is this really what I would love? And then it's so uncomfortable and so scary to go, no, this isn't what I'd love, actually. I would love that, but I'm very far away from that. What is that? And so the journey is an invitation in every moment to discover, what is it that would light you up? What is it that is your truth, your living truth? And when you get a thought that pops up in your head, question it. When you think you're not worthy or whatever comes up, question it and go, is that really true? How do I know that that's really true? What would happen if I wasn't worrying about fixing myself and I really just went for expressing my gifts in the world? Because here's what we do to women. We tell them they're broken, which is a lie. None of us are broken. And then we get preoccupied with fixing ourselves, right? And we use all our energy and talent and resources to fixing ourselves rather than going, hey, wait a second, I'm not broken. I've been through some challenges. Here's the empowered aspects of that. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I've grown to understand about myself. And here's my gift. And I'm going to go for this gift. I'm going to express this gift no matter what, because I know how precious life is, that it could end at any second. And I'm going to do the best that I can to live the most incredible life that I can. That is really where, like, the conversation I want to have with women is, do you want to keep living your life dictated by these mandates, by these ideas that are false, but we believe in them? Or do you want just for a half second just to go, wait a second, I think that's not true. That's actually not really what I feel. I know there's more to my life than whatever it is I'm experiencing. I know there's more to love. I know there's more to sex. I know there's more to relationship. I don't know how to get there, but I know there is. And that's the curiosity that will really pull us forward on this journey. I think curiosity and daring are very important ingredients to being sexually sovereign.
Wow. You're married, right?
Yes.
And your husband supports your work.
He's amazing. You should have him on the show. You'd love him.
Because I watched the video on your Facebook page with the two of you, and the two of you complimented each other so well. So I was like, I wonder if he does interviews, because I want him on my show. And here you suggested, so I will, because I heard his perspective, and I like where he was going, and I was looking at your face, and I'm like, oh, you don't want him to go there, but he needs to go there. So yes, thank you. You have a PhD. Can you tell us about what your PhD is in?
Yes. So I studied transpersonal psychology, which is a branch of psychology that's inclusive of the spirit, so the spiritual side of life, and the beliefs that are associated with that, and the impact that those beliefs have on our psychology. And what I did when I studied this PhD is I directed my focus on what's called psychosexuality, so the psychosexual piece of women. What that means is who you are in your thoughts and your feelings is intermeshed and not separable from your body, from your sexuality. They're like so enmeshed that they're one. And so when you have a problem, say, with your sexual health, there's inevitably also a relationship with how you're thinking and feeling. And why that's liberating to discover that is that you get to trust your pelvis, your vagina, even as a compass, that she doesn't lie, that she's leading you and telling you and revealing what's actually happening in your life. So for example, at one point I got a really bad yeast infection that wouldn't go away, and it kept coming back for about 1.5 years. It was quite bad. And the whole time I already knew about this work, and I said, my God, I'm not really mad at my husband. I'm not really angry, because it's usually anger related yeast infections. And I was really looking and looking, but I was blindsided because I was in business with someone that wasn't doing me right, but I wasn't seeing it. And the moment I broke that business relationship, my body completely healed. So there is a listening that we need to do. So that's why I love psychosexuality, and why I say to women, if you want more orgasms, or you want a better health of your pelvis, or you want to resolve this or that, it cannot be done purely just looking at the physical, because you're not just physical. You feel deeply, and you have deep knowing, and those aspects are not separate from your sexuality and your sexual health.
But how do we connect the two?
Yeah. Well, I believe they're always connected. I think it's social conditioning that has us feel like we're not connected. And there actually have been studies, quite literally, that have shown that young girls are socialized out of their own what's called arousal cues. These are the sensations that your pelvis and genitals would create to let you know we're turned on. And by turn on, I don't mean just sexually. Sometimes maybe you smell something, you're like, ooh, that's good. Or sometimes you hear something, you're like, oh, that's amazing. So you're lit up, you're switched on. I want you to start having a broader perspective on turned onness. So it's not just genitals and sex. It's like your whole being lighting up, inclusive of your genitals. And so as a little girl, those arousal cues are socialized out of us. And even women who've never had trauma, in the study, this is what was revealed, whether the woman had trauma or not, she still did not know that she was turned on most of the time. Wow. The body was responding because they had something inside the vagina that could read arousal cues, and they did MRI scans, and they could see what was happening in the brain. And the women would say, yeah, I'm not turned on. And then their body was actually turned on, but they couldn't feel or register the signals. So a lot of my work is purely to help women rebuild those neural pathways, that conscious connection with self. And the simplest way to do that, if I were to give a tip like right now, would be to spend time with your hand on your heart, one on your belly, or even right over your genitals, and start to breathe and start to feel like you can even smile into your own heart, smile into your own body, and start having this experience where you're intentionally choosing to relate to and connect with yourself.
I need to practice that.
Yes, and so if you did follow anything that I'm doing, this is one of the teachings I give out a lot, and it's also in all of my books as a very powerful, it's really powerful teaching. And I have to tell you that some professionals who are guiding women, when they came to train with me, could not even do that simple practice. So what I have found is that a human condition, it's a socialized condition, but here's the good news. It's not who we are in our nature. Who we are in our nature is very connected. So it's always, the possibility of reconnection is always there. We just need to know that it's possible. We need to know that it exists because we've been told for so long that this part of us we shouldn't pay attention to except for in special moments, or et cetera, whatever the conditioning has been, that we should fear this part of our body or whatever. We need to be good girls. These kinds of things, these conditionings do shut us down. So the enlivenment process, here's another tip. You make sense of reality through your sensuality. Sensuality is how we make sense of reality.
Someone put that up. Put that up in the comment. Could you repeat that while she speaks, please?
Yeah, so sensuality is how we make sense of reality. It's a very important thing to understand because most of us have numbed out. But the key to healing, the key to empowerment is actually to enhance, to feel more, to sense more, to be more aware. And that's scary when we live in a world that feels scary. But here's the thing. If we're not aware of our surroundings in a really profound way, we won't be aware when things are not okay. But when we are more sensual, when we are more connected, we'll sense it long before it's even close to us, and we're gone before that comes even in our space. So it's actually keeps us safer to be more sensual, believe it or not. Sharon, thank you.
Now, we might have someone on the live whose life experiences has stripped them of their sensuality.
Yeah.
What would be your encouragement to them?
To start small, because here's the thing. No matter what has come to pass, that's the past. But you're alive right here, right now, in this moment. This is your life. And right now, right here in this moment, you are using your senses. Maybe with this video, you're using your eyes to see, and then you're hearing. But maybe when you're not online, you're eating something. So now you're involving tasting and smelling. And maybe when you put clothes on, you touch your own skin, or when you're bathing. So what I want to say is discover what is your strongest sense. Which one is the dominant one? And then look at which of the senses are weaker. And can you enhance that? So here's a very simple way of doing that. The next time you smell something like a flower, something pleasant, hopefully, take the smell and see if you can make it bigger. Imagine that when you smell, you not only smell it, you let the smell fill your whole being. It affects your whole being. So when I smell a rose, it's not just, it's, oh, wow, I feel the rose inside of me because I'm letting that sensual experience touch me. When you eat something, for example, instead of just eating, take a bite and feel the texture and the flavors. And imagine enhancing that. Turn the volume up and notice how that feels in your body. This is how we start very slowly the unnumbing process. Now, a lot of us are afraid to do that because that's going to mean that we're going to have to feel our full range of feelings. But here's what I need to say, and this has happened in all my groups. There's usually one person that will end up crying or getting very angry or, having whatever the feeling she's having. And I always say this, If it's emerging, it's because it wants to be loved into wholeness. It just wants you to say, I've got you. It's okay. You can be angry right now, or you can cry right now. I've got you. You're safe. And when we can self-nurture like this, we rebuild trust in ourselves. And that is the first place to rebuild trust. We must trust ourselves. Eventually, we can rebuild it outwardly. But first, here, most of us feel like we've been betrayed by our own bodies. So to rebuild that trust it's a really profound journey, and it takes time. But it actually can be a very beautiful experience if you just go very slowly. Like I said, slowly, incrementally enhancing that sensual aspect of who you are.
What if someone that is on the line is listening to you and said, they might be, I'm a little, I'm afraid to discover my sensuality.
You can't not discover it because it's how you're making sense of reality. So even right now, you're sensual. If you didn't have senses, the whole of what you know would be gone. You take your vision away, you take your hearing away, your smell, everything away. There's no more reality. So that alone, foundationally, you are already sensual right now. And I probably need to be very clear that sensual doesn't mean always sexual. That's where the fear comes in. Sensual means you're really alive. You get to live. This is your life. Because I faced my death, I think I'm a little more intense about this than a lot of people who haven't yet. But it is so precious because this could be your last day, like right now. Right now could be your last day. So how do we want to live it? Do you want to look just for a moment at the sun or the breeze in a tree and actually let that touch you? Because that's what living is. So if you're afraid of your sensuality, I want to invite you into just being very, very, very gentle with yourself. Gentleness is what helps fear transform into even more calmness and gentleness. So forcing yourself to do this exercise won't make you feel less fearful. Inviting yourself, being gentle. Remember that slowest part of you? So maybe your fear is the slowest part, and treat her like she's a little child and she's terrified. What would you do to a terrified child? You wouldn't go, do this now, right? You'd probably say, come here, you're okay. It's okay. We don't have to do this right now. I'm just going to be here with you. Let me hold you. And you would have this compassion and gentleness with yourself. And then you're like, look, let's just try like a sniff of this, just like a little sniff, and see how that goes. And that's how it works. It's not meant to be overnight, this huge sensational thing. It's not meant that you snap your fingers and you're all better. This is your life, the journey of your life. And you matter. You matter so deeply that numbing out actually hurts all of us. So by you claiming your life, even in the tiniest way, right now, even if it's just putting a hand on your knee and going, okay, I feel my knee, I'm here, I got this. I'm not ready to put my hand on my heart yet, but I'll put my hand on my knee. Start there. You're wise. Where is it true for you to start? I never force anyone into anything. This work, I think why it works so deeply is it's always an invitation, because I trust that you're intelligent, you're not broken, and you've got this. You've got this. This is actually natural, just like breathing.
I'm listening to you, and is that like mindfulness and just being present and connecting with the different parts of your being? I love your work. And I've been looking for a coach, and I hope I can afford you. Do you consider sexual sovereignty in women a birthright?
Absolutely. We are born this way. When you're a mother or a father and you hold your baby in your arms, you are holding a sovereign being that is dependent on you. But they're still sovereign. Their body is their own. Their body does not belong to you. Your body is your own. It's never belonged to your parents. They are the guardians. They are the champions, the caregivers. But at some point, you will grow up and you'll be able to care for yourself. And then there's a strong claiming of that sovereignty that needs to happen, saying, hey, I've got this now. I'm going to take care of this. And where I think we've harmed a lot of people is in that alienation of self. It's in the disassociation of self. Because now when we're disassociated, we don't stand our ground. We don't know our boundaries. We don't, even young women, especially the younger ones, because we kind of learn as we go along in time, but the younger ones don't know that they're allowed to have non-negotiables. They're allowed to say, here's what I'd love in relationship. For example, one of my non-negotiables is smoking. Like I am not going to be with a person who does that. It's just not negotiable for me. And so I've never considered a partner that does that. If they do, it's not on, it's finished. They might have everything absolutely amazing. They have that, it's not possible because it's non-negotiable. And we don't understand that those are so crucial because they're crucial to happiness. They're crucial to well-being. They're crucial to vitality. Like you were saying about the Cambodia statistics that they have very little divorce rates. There's a reason for that because when they go into marriage, these are people who've been taught that their values are valuable and they can take a stand for them. And if somehow that's overridden, the whole community will hold the individual accountable. We don't do that for each other in this society. So it is a birthright is basically the answer to that question. And we just need to remember that it is. You don't have to do anything about it except for the act of claiming it and standing your ground and going, it's up to me to choose. I get to choose. I get to choose when I have sex, with whom and how. I get to choose things around my fertility. I get to choose whether or not I want to hug. There's times I'm really huggy. I'm French Canadian. I love hugging. There's times I don't want to hug and I'll just tell people, not right now. I don't want to hug. And to feel relaxed in that boundary. That's what sovereignty is. And that's what the claiming of it can do for us is we feel freer to just let ourselves be. And some days we're cranky and some days we're wide open and we get to have all of that.
Are you encouraging us to embrace our crankiness?
Yes.
I am reiterating that for a purpose because some of us think that our crankiness is not a part of us.
Oh, right. Well, here's the deal with sovereignty. You can only be sovereign if all of you is involved. So if you disown any of your feelings, you are now stepping to what's called victimhood because you will blame someone or something for those feelings. But if you can say, I am angry right now, and I'm not interested in your smiles and your hugs. Right now, I am angry. And if you don't want to be around me when I'm angry, you can go. But right now, this is how I'm feeling. And owning that. And then you can think about it and go, why am I angry? What has happened? Someone crossed the line. That's what happened. And I wasn't clear about my boundary, or they disrespected me, or whatever. It'll become clear because anger is a healing agent. Anger shows us the moments where we've been powerless. That's what makes us angry, when we feel powerless. If we're cranky, sometimes we need to sleep or eat or have an orgasm. I don't know the reasons for crankiness. But if we own that we're cranky, and I will say it to my husband right now, I'm just, I'm going to bite your head off. And he's like, okay, so now's the time either to leave or, what do you need? And he will ask me, what do you need? And so I'll need a hug, or I just need space. So the more we own all of ourselves, the more we can create the life we love, because then we get to really design it. But if we go, I'm not allowed to be cranky, I'm not allowed to be angry, I'm not allowed to feel scared, I'm not allowed to be sad, then what we're saying is we're not allowed to be human. And to be human is messy. It's not neat and tidy. I don't know who thought that being human was neat and tidy, but that's an error of thought somewhere along the line. And trying to make yourself neat and tidy and controlled is a way of, I call it slow suicide. So if we can accept that life is messy, we are messy, and we take full ownership of that, we actually move through our feelings way faster. And we come back to feeling good way faster. I can say that's true for me. It used to take me like a long time, and now it's very quick. So that's what we have in store if we really want to own all of who we are.
I like that, because I am one to own the crankiness, the anger, and those emotions that are not acceptable to others, that they may think that it's not human. And a lot of us have the notion that being human is being perfect. And I like your analogy that being human is messy. And I'm sure it's going to give us the permission to love the messiness of our lives and embrace it. And I want to thank you for that. It is said that men's libido are innately brutal. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, probably the Facebook Live that you saw with my husband, I was answering that question, and I was really offended. It was a male author who wrote an article for the New York Times stating that the male libido is inherently brutal. And I was incredibly offended, because I have had many experiences prior to my husband with, different partners, and none of them had a brutal libido. I mean, they were kind, they were conscious, they were loving, they were passionate, they were beastly at times, but never brutal. And I turned to my husband and I said, I cannot accept that as a statement. I have to speak out against it. It's not okay. And I don't want to live in a world where we castrate all men. That doesn't feel good to me either. Here's what's brutal. The social conditioning of young boys and young girls to have them disassociate from being sexual beings, from being natural and having a direct relationship and learning boundaries and learning responsibility from the get-go. That we take that away from that's brutal. And yes, there are people who are, crazy and off and not okay, but that's not the majority. And yes, the majority is socially conditioned, but I can tell you that in the face of any conditioned male, that if I stand my ground and I'm clear about what I want, he responds. There's nowhere to go. So it's very, very important for me to say that no, men and women, we're not inherently brutal in our libido. And that's a misunderstanding of libido. Libido is a funny thing to understand. And in Freud's version of it doesn't agree with me. William Reich's version feels more true to me. It's more the psychosexual piece. And what Reich would say is, if anything in your psychology isn't right, it will impact your libido. And when your psychology is clear, the libido will be healthy. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because that's how I feel. And so that's what this work is about. It's really looking at can we, as a collective, as human beings, really look at our conditioning and go, I'm done with that. I'm done being labeled whatever I'm being labeled. I'm done being shamed into being silent. And I'm done blaming all these other things I'm blaming. And instead, here's the world I want to live in. And here's how I'd like to engage. And here's what I would love. And here's what I bring to the table. That's, I think, what that question you asked leads us to. Because for someone to come to a place to think that male libido is brutal means that they've been disassociated with their own sexuality and live in a world surrounded by disassociated people for too long, where that has become the norm. But I refuse that ill sexuality is normalcy. That's not the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where we recontextualize sexuality, where it's no longer a commodity. It's not something we use to bargain and get things from each other. It is an inherent part of our nature. We are sexual beings. And to start to respect that in a profound way, that's what my movement is about. That's what the Daring Project is about. That's what sexual sovereignty is about. And I have to say, like, I'm just so touched and moved by you. Like, I love your amazing, curious mind, and you're just leaning in and you're eating everything up. Like, you're the kind of community that I want more of in my life. The intelligent, curious people who are like, there's got to be more to this. And then you lean in, and there is.
Yes. Well, you know, Dr. Saida, this is very powerful, and this is, it's good for us, because the Caribbean diaspora that is within North America is being exposed to this. And our culture, our socialization, all of those things inhibited us in the past. And now we're open and ready to explore and embrace who we really are. So this is timely, and I hope that you will, and an invitation is extended to you again, because a lot of us are menopausal, and I see that you address that. That's something that we don't talk about in our community.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
It's like women shouldn't have sex, and
so that just me say one thing.
Sure.
This is what I know to be true. It's not even a belief. It's what I know to be true. That menopause is the power stage of life. And is actually the time of life when a woman can be her most sexual. But culturally, that's not what we learn, because if we disempower elder women who have wisdom from their power, they will no longer be able to influence the youth. And that's the error that we've done. We've disempowered the wisdom keepers from their power. We think that now, for whatever reason, past menopause, we're no longer viable, we're useless. So we no longer contribute, and then the youth don't have guidance. We've harmed ourselves generationally. So it is in my desire to bring back this understanding to all women, and to make young women excited for their power stage, not dreading it like it's a disease, but excited for it. So it is an initiation, and I would love to come back and talk about that. Definitely. That would be a lot of fun.
Definitely. Tell us about your books and where you can get them.
Okay, so The Emergence of the Sensual Woman, it has a subtitle, Awakening Our Erotic Innocence. And it's a two-part book. The first half is a philosophy called The Art of Succulent Living, and it basically invites you into questioning everything that you've been brought up to believe, and to recreate what's true for yourself around your sexuality. The second half of the book is all practical things, like do this practice, try this. You know, it's all practical, including there's a whole section on breast care, on vaginal care, like if you have yeast infections or bladder infections. Like it just goes through like all things woman, and including things that help women like with vaginal dryness, etc., etc. So that's that book. The Illustrious Jade Egg is free, and you can download it instantly from thejadeegg.com if you go there. And that's a very short ebook. It's not in print, but it comes in many languages now. But it takes a woman through very simply, what is this all about? And you can even skip forward to a section in the book that's about you. So if you're trying to get pregnant, or you've had kids, or you're in menopause, or you've had trauma, or you're still a virgin, I wrote different sections of the book with some wisdom pieces for each of those parts of being a woman. And then the last book, which I hope you have me back for, is, it's not out yet, but it's coming out this year. It's on desire, and desire as our compass. So I would be really honored to come back and talk about that book.
Of course. What is the jade egg?
So the jade egg, just to be honest, it's like a little egg-shaped piece of nephrite jade, and it's used inside the vagina for pelvic health, for tissue health, and more importantly, do you remember I was saying the neural pathways from the conscious mind into the pelvic floor? So we're actually going to rebuild and create more neural pathways that will allow not only your consciousness to be really attuned to what's happening in your pelvis, which means more pleasure in the long run, but it also, what it does is it creates a stronger superhighway, so that when you train yourself with something I call relaxed arousal, ladies, you need to learn about relaxed arousal. So maybe we'll do another show on this sometime. But relaxed arousal, it does trigger your courage, your confidence, your creativity in your brain. It triggers those centers. So very, very important interconnection of women's empowerment. It's related how you treat your pelvic floor, how you are aroused, how you use that arousal really affect your potentiality as a woman, your confidence as a woman, and your expression as a woman in the world. So it's not disconnected. It's not only about your partner and about orgasm. It's really about being that force of nature that you were born to be.
And where can we purchase the jade egg?
Yeah, well, if you go literally to thejadeegg.com, you'll get that free ebook that I told you about. There's videos, free teaching videos on there. And then there's an opportunity to get like a little starter kit, which I hold your hand every single day, like do this on day 1, do this on day 2, and take you through videos and some writing. So it's a really great place to start. And if you're not ready for all that, it redirects you to the store, and then you can see if there's something else that could support you there. But you can start there. And here's the good news. You can actually do a lot of this without the egg initially. And in fact, I encourage women to start first without one, because sometimes the egg kind of takes all our attention and we forget ourselves. So I would invite you first just to start with the information without the egg. And then when you feel that connection and you feel ready, then you can move into the next step.
Okay. Someone said they're so interested.
I see that. That's awesome.
And so I'm sure we all would be going to the jadeegg.com, and we will be downloading the ebook, and some of us would be purchasing the starter kit.
Yeah. And I want to invite you and anyone else, but definitely you, to come into the Daring Project. And it's free for 30 days. It's a membership. It's not very expensive, but the first 30 days is free. And that's where you get me live. Every week I'm live and I'm teaching, and we're looking at how to make those micro moments of daring real. We're sharing our stories. What's happening in there is so powerful. I cannot tell you, but the level of growth, of empowerment, of confidence, of vulnerability and strength is blowing my mind. And this is a global community, which is also very nice because you're meeting women from different cultures. So I really want to invite you to come to the Daring Project.
I will.
And check it out.
I will. What else can you leave with us? You've filled me. Thank you. My plate is filled, and there is a lot to ponder on.
I think that if I left you with anything, would just be a deep sense of gratitude and grace for yourself, for this beautiful body that you embody. And just when we get off this call, take a moment to like shake it out and move and just like, woo, just stretch and breathe and really acknowledge yourself and acknowledge your body. Yeah.
Yes, I need to do that. Where can we find you?
Yeah. I think the best place would be thedaringproject.com, thedaringproject.com, because from there you actually can access everything.
Thedaringproject.com. Can someone put that up, please?
Yeah, thedaringproject.com. And I'm also on Facebook under my name, but that's a bit difficult, Dr. Saida Desilets. But I think you've tagged me so people could look at my page. It's another way to find me.
Okay.
But thedaringproject.com has all the information about that, and then you can actually browse the rest of the site from that page as well.
One thing we haven't talked about that is a part of your portfolio is you're a healer.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So when I was a lot younger, like a child young, I grew up with Native Canadians, so First Nations Canadians, and I learned their way of, sweat lodges and healing through direct relationship with nature. So that carried through into my adulthood, and I got qualified in Ayurvedic medicine and Tui Na, which is a form of Chinese medicine, as well as different energy medicines. And so I did a lot of work as a healer one-on-one and in clinics, and I had my own practice. And I took all that wisdom that I learned in working with people and seeing transformation, and it's infused into what I offer now. So I'm not so much working as a healer one-on-one now, although, if a family member needs something, I definitely act, or if I find an animal that needs some support, I'll act. But I think just being in my presence, because I am very embodied in what I talk about and have a deep love of life, that's the way that I use my healing modality now is living what I walk and really being that resonant presence for people.
Okay. Dr. Saida, you have to come back. You have to come back to share with us about sexuality and ageism. But you'll be here before be back before your new book is out. We'll be seeing your husband, because I would like him to be on the show to share with our male listeners and viewers what it means to be with a woman who has embraced her sexual sovereignty.
Yeah, that would be a great conversation.
That's extremely liberating for a man to share his perspective on what it means to be a woman who sets clear boundaries.
Yes.
What it means to be with a woman who has non-negotiables.
Yeah.
What it means to be with a woman who really understands her sexuality and embraces that life is messy. That is powerful. And it takes a man who knows who he is and embraces his individuality to love a woman like you. So he is special, and we need to hear from him.
But he would love that. He would be so honored, and he didn't definitely enjoy speaking with you. So I will let him know, and then I'll connect you so you can have him on the call.
Thank you. Before I let Dr. Saida go, guys, do you guys have any questions? Sharon said I would love a roundtable discussion.
Awesome.
Does anyone have any question or concern? Dr. Saida, you have other websites. Can you share those websites with us?
Yeah, so the main URL for my site is dareyourdesire.com, dareyourdesire.com. And really soon we're going to have a new looking site with some fun things on there for you. So I'm really excited. If you join me now, then I'll update you when that happens. And if you join me in a month, then the update will probably already be done. But dareyourdesire.com is the main site. The daringproject.com is where you come and learn to be a little bit more daring in your life. And the jadeegg.com if you want more information specifically on the jade egg.
And before you go, tell us about your South African trips. When is the next trip?
Ooh, in July. And I only can take 7 lucky ladies. And the trip is amazing. This year, we're doing it very differently. This year, one of the guys who's from the Xhosa, I can't say it, they click Xhosa, the Xhosa tribe, he is taking me into the wild coast with the other 7 women, and we are going to spend our days hiking in the most beautiful nature, and the evenings immersed in local tribes, local communities with the women. So we're going to discuss their ways of being a woman, including, I think, one of the evenings we're going to meet a Sangoma, a healer, elder lady. And then from there, we are actually going to be going into the deep wilderness where the lions and rhinos, they walk freely and we walk freely amongst them. So it's an incredible trip. You can actually find information on that on my site, but I haven't updated this year's trip yet. So because it's new, I don't have dates as of today, but as of next week, we will have dates. So very, very soon we'll release those dates.
And the $1 million question.
Ooh.
How do you choose the 7 women?
So there is an application process. So you apply and you let me know and I interview you. And then why I do that is I want to make sure that everyone in the group has the right attitude and the right feel, so that when we're out there, we're not wasting our time resolving tensions between one another. We're actually deeply just living and loving the experience. And because I've done it that way, the last 3 trips that I've done have been so powerful and so amazing. And so curation is important. And about 3 months before we actually go to Africa, we all start getting on a monthly call together so you can meet each other. And I go through everything you need to know, absolutely what to pack, what to do, all these things. So it's all taken care of. It's really amazing. And a person would need to apply.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I will, at the end of the call, I will do what you advise and shake it off.
Fantastic.
I'll be in contact because I'd like you to come back. I know a lot of our viewers are menopausal, and some entered menopause with disdain.
Right.
And some are in the midst of it and they're angry at their bodies. So we really would like you to speak to us and to help us to understand vaginal health and how to manage the dryness, etc., etc. So I'll be contacting you to confirm a date for that discussion in the very near future.
Perfect.
I will share your available dates with us because we need you.
Yes, and I just want to thank your viewers so much for their hearts and their curiosity and their courage, it just really touches me when women actually come and they partake and they're with us, because your time is precious. So I just want to honor you for being here today. And thank you so much for just being such a, lack of a better word, goddess of beauty and intelligence and curiosity. Like I said, I wish I was on that couch right there next to you, just snuggling up and having a good laugh, because you seem like a really fun woman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Saida, and we'll be in contact very soon. Thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you for participating, and I hope you shared, and we'll see you next week at 6 o'clock. Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Saida.
Bye.